Hello, my name is Stephen Denman. My organisation is Shining Guidance. My website is shiningguidance.com. I want to talk to you today in this video presentation about very interesting resonances and connections between the dolphin frequency, celestial hyperspace, dolphins whilst they're sleeping, and astral projecting into the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane, and how all that interrelates on a more psychic, telepathic and spiritual level in their relationship and interactions with children with Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions. Now, you know from the work of Professor Whitney Dominic, who conducted a study as part of her dissertation research on the impact of swimming and interacting with wild dolphins on children with Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions, how beneficial such interrelations and interactions could therefore be. Now, the study took place from the 1st of June 2018 to the 30th of September 2018 at Panama City Beach in Florida. And the dissertation that Professor Whitney Dominic was developing back then was part of her Water Planet internship program. Now, the participants, that's the children and their caregivers, that's their parents who authorised them to take part in the actual study, then came under a separate heading for the overall results of the study, which is the Water Harmony and Serenity Therapy Program. She took each of the heart rates of 4 children with Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions before and after going out onto boats along the coast of Panama City Beach in Florida, and while they were interacting with the wild dolphins, and then she did interviews before and after with their parents, because their parents had to accompany them, and to see how they interacted, how they were feeling, reading their facial expressions, their body language, their gestures, their tone of voice. Everything was recorded, everything was remembered, everything written down as part of the data aggregation to really get a greater insight what is going on with these children who have Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions and how they feel whilst interacting in a social environment with aquatic mammals such as dolphins. So the program was very interesting. What was found that is 3 out of 4 of the children had much calmer and steadier heart rates after interacting with the wild dolphins. The other child, 1 out of the 4 that did not, still had a slower heart rate, a calmer heart rate, but only if they were in the aquatic environment while the wild dolphins were not around them. So that's very interesting. So there's obviously an aspect to do with the aquatic environment and the wild dolphins there. Very interesting information. And what was known as a summary at the end of the Water Harmony and Serenity Therapy Program was that all concerned parents as caregivers and all the children with Autism Spectrum Disorder ASD conditions found it to be highly helpful, inclusive, beneficial. They felt they were part of a really great community doing fantastic scientific work, and they were contributing towards something wonderful that could help other children across the towns and cities of the United States of America and Canada who have Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions, in reference to how they can find various practical-based therapies such as, shall we say, dolphin therapy, where they can interact in a natural aquatic environment where they are well protected and guided by mental health support workers, by dolphin trainers, and obviously their parents as well. So we know that Professor Whitney Dominic is a very credible individual. She graduated with her doctorate in research psychology from the psychology department of Oakland University in Michigan. She then moved to Panama City Beach in Florida and started the research into wild dolphin therapy on children who have Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions. And so a very credible individual. She found that the emotionality changes that took place in such children resulted in them becoming far calmer, more relaxed. Their self-esteem, their self-confidence grew in leaps and bounds. And another individual that kind of complemented the research of Professor Whitney Dominic is Genevieve David. She also selected Panama City Beach in Florida as part of her internship in, shall we say, the Water Harmony and Serenity Therapy Program. And she also did a lot of data research into the effects of wild dolphin therapy on children with Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions. Now, Genevieve David is another very credible academic individual. She has a degree in biomedical sciences from both the Université de Montréal in the city of Montreal in Canada and Harvard University in the city of Boston in Massachusetts in the United States of America. She also has a master's degree in public administration with a speciality in digital health from the École Nationale d'Administration Publique, which is a graduate school in Quebec City in Quebec Province in Canada. She is also the senior manager of the Patient and Public Partnership Platform at the Centre of Excellence in Partnership with Patients and the Public, and the head of the Partnership Laboratory. So a very inclusive, highly professional individual. She did a lot of specific kinds of screening criteria for children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD conditions, which resulted in very credible research, really to do with the emotionality improvement of children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD conditions, in reference to their social interaction skills, their communication skills, and using the aquatic mammals, what wonderful aquatic mammals they are, the wild dolphins, as almost like time and motion facilitators to improve the mental health and self-esteem and self-confidence of those children with Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD conditions. So we need to remember that dolphins are far more than aquatic mammals, though. We know that when they sleep, that they go into collective astral projection. Therefore, they're entering into the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane. We know that they are able to traverse the astral plane and reach the electromagnetic perimeter, literally around the resonant edge or seemingly interdimensional edge of celestial hyperspace. And we know that the echolocation processes that dolphins have permits them to send out sound waves when they are therefore able to hit an object in their aquatic environment, which then bounces back a sound signal, allowing them to identify the location, shape, and approximate size of such objects. Now, when they're actually going into astral projection, when they sleep in the oceans and the seas around them, they instantly start to use that astral projection, and their echolocation is known to then pulsate as waves of multicoloured waveform radiances, which function as luminescent manifestations of their aquatic mammal-based telepathy potency and skills. A great article that was written in the Guardian newspaper on the 3rd of July 2003 by Anushka de Rohan, which is entitled Why Dolphins Are Deep Thinkers, and was based on the scientific research at the Institute for Marine Mammal Studies in the city of Gulfport in Mississippi in the United States of America on the intelligence levels of dolphins in captivity. And the dolphins' skills in the water showed clearly that they have far higher intelligence levels than the vast majority of human beings, or Homo sapiens, for want of a better phrase, here on planet Earth, in this very condensed 3D holographic reality of the material dimension. And we know that the brain capacity of adult dolphins is around 25% larger and denser than that of an adult human being or a Homo sapien here on planet Earth. And we have to also remember, going back into, shall we say, the environs beyond space-time, that in celestial hyperspace there is a specific electromagnetic resonant glyph that represents the dolphin frequency. And those dolphins who use individual and collective astral projection whilst they sleep do enter the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane, and they communicate with each other. They're able to communicate with light beings, and so they're extremely spiritually developed aquatic mammals, and their intelligence levels probably aren't even measurable by modern scientific standards in the Western world anyway. So we know that from the information that's available, that dolphins are not what they seem. We also know that the information that's given by modern science on these kinds of cetaceans, the same as it is with whales and porpoises, is not exactly what it seems to be. They're far more intelligent than that, and far more mystical in many ways, and far more secretive. So I think, I don't really feel there's much more I need to add to this information. I think I've given enough information on the interconnections here. We already know that children with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD conditions, tend to have much higher levels of supernatural interaction and have higher levels of psychic and telepathic ability than more neurotypical children and teenagers. So, on that note, I think I've presented everything I wanted to present in this talk, and just to say that, any individual that has autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions is a truly incredible individual, a truly divine being incarnated on planet Earth, just as valuable as every other kind of human being on planet Earth. And, so having autism spectrum disorder is no big deal, and they have very interesting interactions with, obviously, wild dolphins from all available research. It's fantastic to know that. And on that note, folks, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching this video presentation. I've enjoyed presenting to you. There'll be many more videos to come in the future. And on that note, thank you and goodbye.